If there's one thing people have definitely realized in 2024 is retro game collecting is definitely up and down. If you want to get a lot of games, especially for the PS1, a lot of people like to get stuff complete in box. And if you do that, you're going to be spending out a lot of money because a lot of games have gone up over the years. And just like any system, there's always those crown jewel expensive games on every console. The PS1 definitely has a ton of those. I consider myself a hybrid gamer. I like to collect a lot of games, but I also love playing them too. But at the end of the day, to me, despite the rarity or anything, it's always about the game and how good it is, how fun it is, and what you get out of it. I'm here today to talk about expensive PlayStation 1 games, and a lot of these you guys probably know for their price tags, but we're not going to talk about prices today. We're going to talk about the games themselves, and all these games on this list at least have some kind of decent quality, and you should definitely check these out if you're a huge PS1 connoisseur. A quick disclaimer, this is not the best games of all time, I just want to emphasize that very deeply. This is just a list of games I chose that are very expensive, they exceed past $200 or so, but these games are also decent and worth playing by any means necessary. I also try to go for a lot of different genres, some are kind of the same thing in a way, but mostly it's all kind of different at least for each game. Without further ado, let's go over these PlayStation 1 games that are pretty expensive, that are worth playing today. Number 1. The most obvious choice to put on this list is one of the most expensive games on the PlayStation, The Misadventures of Tron Bonne. This game is a spin-off of Mega Man Legends and Legends 2, if you've never played those games or heard of them, and the gameplay is very similar to Mega Man Legends. It's a third-person shooter kind of game, but you play as Tron Bonne, and you gotta rescue your relative Teasel Bonne, and he got captured, so you gotta save him. The gameplay is kind of hybrid though. You have third-person shooter missions, puzzle missions, kind of like RPG, like underground missions they call it, and the big gimmick with this game is you have the servbot things, and the servbots were in Mega Man Legends, but you actually have a bunch of them, and you can command them to like get treasure out of walls and stuff like that. And whenever you're at your home base, you can actually assign a bunch of different servbots together. That's a really cool, innovative kind of touch there. Matter of fact, what's funny is Mega Man's not even in this game, so this is like one of the only Mega Man games that is a spin-off that he is not in it. Tron Bonne is definitely a good game. It's not one of the best games ever by any means, but it's definitely fun nonetheless. I actually own this game. I bought it back when COVID first started, and now this game is just way too expensive to buy. But it's a great game, it's definitely decent, so if you like third-person shooters, well, definitely check this one out. This one is kind of fun.
I'm still not here. Looks like we'll have to fight our way out! Surrender!
Number 2. Another obvious candidate, Persona, or Revelations Persona as they called it originally, and this game is a turn-based RPG. Persona is definitely a franchise that got way more popular as the years went on. I mean, Persona 5 is a huge deal. It's like the Final Fantasy of this past generation, and what a great game if you've not played it. In the first Persona game, you actually have a bunch of high school kids, and that's kind of the theme with most of these games anyway, but you control a kid, and y'all are trying to activate your personas. There's a girl in the hospital who's had delusions and such, and pretty much, I didn't dive too much into this game, but you uncover the persona inside you as well as your friends do, and you gotta battle evil zombies and ghouls and, you know, dark creatures and stuff like that. Pretty much what all the other games are like. This game you can attack, you can, as well as you have a gun, and you have your persona, which is your magic in this game, and it definitely plays pretty good, and the sound effects are good. There's some voice acting in the battles too, a little bit of that, and the music is cool. I think the dungeon crawling is cool and being over the town is unique, but I'm going to be honest, I think it's a little outdated with how it feels and controls. You have a map you can use, and that's fine and all, but it's easy to kind of get lost in the town, at least I thought, so maybe I just suck at doing that and navigating, but Persona nonetheless is definitely one you got to check out. Of course, this one's very expensive, but if you want to play it without doing anything illegal, you can always get it on the PlayStation Classic. It is on there. I know it's not the most ideal way, or you could play the PSP kind of remake-ish or port or whatever you want to call it, and apparently that's the better way to go. So the PSP is definitely what I would recommend, but Persona, definitely a good series. Check the first one out, see where it all began. Number 3. Klonoa Door to Phantomile is a pretty good 2D platformer, and this game has definitely been known over the years because it's gotten remakes on the Wii and a modern remake on Switch and PlayStation. But the original game was only on the PlayStation 1. This is what you would call a 2.5D game, and all you do is jump, and you use your little Hue-Pow guy, and you grab enemies, and you can use them to jump or throw them at obstacles. It's a really cool concept, simple to learn, but kind of hard to master, but overall, Klonoa is a pretty easy game, but very fun. They do a good job of the level design, the graphics, the sound, the music, and the challenge. Too bad this game's very expensive, because I love this version of the game. Unfortunately, there's no other way to play it. You might be able to get this on the PS3 store, but I'm not too certain on that now. But Klonoa Door to Phantomile, this is a game you gotta play, either the original or the remake. Definitely check this one out. Number 4. R-Type Delta. I actually mentioned this game recently in my shoot 'em up video, and this game is indeed very, very fun, but also very hard. I'm not very good at shoot 'em ups in general, and this game I am definitely not that great at, but nonetheless, I do love the R-Type games. I like the power-ups that you get whenever you're playing these games, and they're like big cool add-ons you get, and you just go crazy whenever you've got a ton of those, but when you lose them, and you go back to square one, and you're just a puny little ship. So the game definitely punishes you, but rewards you whenever you get these item upgrades. This game never got ported to anything else, unfortunately, so this game's stuck on the PlayStation, and it sucks because it costs a couple $100, but this game is definitely a good one you gotta check out, especially if you're a shoot 'em up fan, and if you want a challenge. So R-Type Delta, definitely check this one. This one's very good. Number 5. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This is one I've always wanted to try out for the system. It is a fighting game, which I think everyone knows that, and it was made by Capcom. The Capcom is the masters of fighting games back in the day too. They were just going strong with Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, and many other franchises. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure though, which I don't really know much about this series to be honest with you, it is an anime though, an older anime, and there's a lot of these different characters, but one thing I do know is the game is a lot of fun. I had a fun time playing with some of these characters, and it just has that Capcom polish. This game was also on the Dreamcast too, funny enough, but I looked up online and it says that it is available for the PS3 and Xbox 360. I don't know if it's on the marketplace or not, but I would definitely give it a look just to see because this game is way too expensive to own, but you might be able to play this legitimately on modern hardware. It's a good fighting game, and if you're a huge fighting game connoisseur and you've never played this before, you definitely need to put this on your list because this game's a lot of fun. Number 6. Clock Tower 2. I've always wanted to try the Clock Tower games, and yes, the first one and this game are both on the PS1, well, I should say the second or third. The original game was actually on the Super Nintendo in Japan only, so we never got that game. But nonetheless, Clock Tower 2 and Clock Tower 1 are very expensive games on the PlayStation. They're point-and-click survival horror games, and they definitely get spooky for sure. They take a different approach with the formula, unlike Resident Evil. That's kind of more action-based with puzzles. This one's more about, surviving and just finding out clues on what to do and such. It's definitely a game you gotta pay attention, because you could miss something in a room, and you have to backtrack sometimes to trigger certain things. This game's alright. I didn't get too far in this one, but if you like, slow-pace, point-and-click, horror games, well, definitely check out the Clock Tower series. This one's very interesting.
What is that?
Number 7. Elemental Gearbolt. This is definitely one I've been wanting to play for like nearly a decade now, and I finally just did the other day, and I gotta say, this game is freaking awesome. It's a rail shooter, but with RPG elements, and this game is a little challenging at first, but once you understand how the magic ring works and you swap magic, you'll see that you have a fireball, a huge rapid lightning shot, and a standard blue light shooter thing. And this game is just a lot of fun in general, and very addicting. I bet the best experience with this game would be using a gun con on a CRT television, but again, this game is very expensive, so the only other way to play this would be going by other means necessary to get a hold of it and play it yourself. But I used the D-pad, and it was just fine when I was playing the game. So Elemental Gearbolt is definitely one you gotta play off this list that's very interesting and unique, and just not really a game like it. So definitely recommend this one any way you can to play it. Number 8. Tail Concerto, which is how you pronounce this game. Not a great title, and probably why the game didn't sell well at all, but the game itself is pretty unique and interesting. I actually played this game as a kid on a jam-packed demo disc. It was an import, so the game was in Japanese whenever I was like 5 or 6, but we eventually got it, but just sold terribly. This game is a 3D platformer, and you play as a police officer named Waffle, and what you gotta do is these cats are coming around town and causing havoc, and you gotta shoot these bubbles at them and pick them up, and you get rid of them. It's a very weird game, but let me say something. This game looks outstanding for a game in 1999 for the PS1, and the voice acting is not too bad either. This game really reminds me of watching Saturday morning animes back in the 90s on WB Kids or something like that. This game's just really cool. I've actually beaten this game before in the past when I used to own this game, and it's a very short game. I'll just go ahead and alert you about that, but a very fun one. This game has gone up over the years a lot. It's the second most expensive North American game complete in box. If you like 3D platformers and you've never heard of this game, which I understand if you haven't because it's kind of rare, or you want to check out more games from this generation, Tail Concerto is definitely one you should definitely check out. It's a lot of fun.
Flare, stare, are you ready? Yes!
Sure.
Here I come! Yeah. Wow!
And there you have it. Those are 8 PS1 games that are very expensive that are worth playing today. Now, I wouldn't say buy these games unless you have Scrooge McDuck money, but, I ain't gonna stop you. Go ahead and buy these games if you want to. But if you're, someone with some sense and you don't want to do that for some piece of plastic, then I understand completely. These games are accessible in any other way possible. Just go beyond your reach and, reach for the stars. Do whatever you can to play these games. Most of the PS1 expensive game catalog is pretty good, but I chose these games in this list because I thought these were the most outstanding ones because of their price as well as their quality. If there are some games that I missed that you think should be on this list, as always, leave a comment down below. I want to hear your suggestions. I thought this would be a pretty cool idea of a video because expensive games usually are decent, but not always. So the PS1, of course, doesn't fail us when it comes to expensive games, so I wanted to share the ones that I knew about to tell you guys all about that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this kind of video, be sure to give it a like. You got something to say? Leave a comment down below. And of course, if you want to see more content like this in the future, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.